and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Painting a great expanse of grass can be quite tricky, and in today's YouTube video I wanted to show you how I managed to integrate this dog into a grassy background. It was quite tricky and I struggled to find the right colours for both the dog and the grassy area. If I show you the photo progress of each sitting, you'll see how many times I changed my mind with the colour of the grass. I started off with mainly Viridian and yellow ochre light with some transparent brown oxide, but you can see this colour overpowered the dog. To be fair, the grass colour in the original reference photo was overpowering the dog, so it is not surprising I had the same issue. Could I have changed the colour completely? Perhaps, but I chose not to for one main reason. The dog was very much taking on the colour of his background, especially in the leg areas due to the reflective light from the grass. So I felt painting the dog in a green grassy area was probably the best idea, but finding the right colour was really hard. At this point, I decided to do something quite radical to the painting. So I got out my ivory black and blocked in this area on the right. I was beginning to wonder if I should change the background and abstract it in some way. I was trying to kill that overpowering green and change my shapes in the painting. I was looking at creating two simple triangles across the painting with the dog breaking them up. It's really important to remember when painting oil on canvas, you always have the option to scrape off what you have tried and have another go if it doesn't work. I did this on 2 occasions. Use a palette knife and try and get as much of the paint off in the area you don't like as you can. Then use a little Gamsol. Make sure your paper towel is clean and rub it over the selected area. Using a clean paper towel on each wipe, get as much of the remaining paint off as you can. I then allow the area to dry overnight before I have another go. Removing as much paint as you can will ensure that the new paint colour goes on clean and unaffected by the previous effort. Also, I think it's good to approach a painting mentally by being prepared to lose it in the pursuit of pushing yourself to get the painting that you want. I knew this area needed vigour, but I wasn't sure about my colours or temperatures, and in the end I changed the value a bit too. But I wasn't going to get vigour into this grassy area by being careful. I used my largest brush and just went for it. I used some linseed oil too because I wanted to really push that paint around. It could have ended up in a big sloppy mess, but I prepared myself mentally for that on the basis that I knew I could keep scraping it back until I got the effect I wanted. If you've ever watched my Procreate videos on this channel, often you see me laying large brush strokes, not liking it, deleting and having another go. This is in essence exactly what I was doing here, laying my strokes, not liking what I'd done and taking it back to the board. It's just a bit more messy, wastes a lot of paint, but it's the same principle. Did the black work? I'm not so sure, but it was helpful in making me revise the colours on my palette. Let's have a look at my original palette for this painting. On my palette I have cadmium yellow light, yellow ochre light, transparent yellow oxide, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, transparent red oxide, terra rosa, viridian, transparent oxide brown, ultramarine deep, zinc titanium white, and also I added burnt umber. I mixed up a few colours also. This included a black red and a black green. These two mixed together gives me my black, a purple, 2 oranges and a light brown. I really didn't need all these colours and having too much choice actually made the mixing harder for me. But once I figured out the colours I needed for this painting, it was relatively simple. It turned out I needed to add transparent yellow-green, Rembrandt and ivory black, Gamblin. Both colours turned out to be essential. Painting my dog was very close to painting with the Zorn palette. In fact, I probably could have got away with just ivory black, yellow ochre light, cadmium red and white. However, I found the addition of my ultramarine deep and transparent red oxide useful in these 2 colour mixes. I also found my viridian and green gold mixed with my purple and my orange useful in these areas down here. Where the dog's coat was more brown, I would use this colour. Where it was cooler, I would use either my purple or my black or my viridian plus white. Where it was more orange, I would use this colour. Where it was a darker brown, I would just add my 2 black colours to either of my browns. The colours of the dog were very similar to skin, and once I'd figured this out, I found it much easier to paint. To get the fluffy effect on the coat, I just used my comber brushes with some very stiff paint and brushed it gently over the surface. For the grass, I used transparent yellow-green and viridian plus white. I also mixed in some of my transparent brown oxide, and because those colours were just so saturated, I used my ivory black to dull the colour a little. I slightly lightened the value of the grassy area and lightened it much further around the dog's face too. The important thing to remember when painting grass is that it's not one block colour. There are lots of colours in it: browns, yellow, reds, greens and blacks. So the best way is to pick up the different colours on your brush and allow them to mix on the painting. This gives a very random effect. Use a big brush as well, and don't be afraid to let the strokes show through as the colours mix together on the canvas. It will give your painting energy. The lighter values around the dog's face help direct your eye to this area. This is because it is the place on the painting with the highest contrast. I have very dark areas next to very light areas. Lastly, I should mention my edges, as these are really important in a painting like this. What I didn't want is a dog separately painted to the grass. I had to paint the grass into the dog and vice versa. At the point where I'd finally figured out the colour of this grass, my dog had dried. I therefore had to repaint the body of my dog to get enough wet paint on my canvas so I could pull it about. Repainting my dog was a pretty quick process. It only took about an hour to cover it, so it was wet enough to manipulate those edges. Again, I was pretty rough with my repainting because I wanted the dog to have the same energy as the grass. I hope you have enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching, and see you for the next one.